Welcome back to It Tastes Like Burning, this Matt.
This is Jesse.
And we have a hot and loaded special for you tonight. It's going to be fresh off the presses and several deep thoughts in. And we will get started by telling you, always reach out to us at ittasteslikeburningcast@gmail.com if you ever have any questions or comments, or God forbid you want to be on the podcast. We actually have a couple of people lined up. We just really gotta.
We just suck at scheduling.
Yeah,
but I'll just put
terrible.
that out there. We're absolutely horrible. There's tons of people that want to do this with us. We just suck that bad at being at the same place at the same time.
And it's about 95% suck and about 5% scheduling.
Yeah,
there's a point of where we literally just cross each other and we're like, oh, hey, by the way, we need to do this. So, email us if you ever feel like you have a question or an issue or statement or contribution or donation. And you can also, speaking of donations, go to Patreon.
Yeah.
You find us at It Tastes Like Burning. They're on the old Patreon and Twitter at It Tastes Like Burning Cast. And if you're feeling particularly sporty or interested or confused, you can always go look for previous episodes posted on YouTube under It Tastes Like Burning. I do recommend searching with the cast on there, though.
Yeah, you get a lot of Ralphie otherwise. But
yeah.
And realize that podcasts on YouTube are, because we're not a video-based, although we do have some video stuff, the majority of our stuff's audio only, and so that it's a picture with us in the background, right? So,
right.
It's not always as entertaining. You don't get to see our beautiful faces.
Consider yourself lucky. So, we were sitting here, we were jabbering away, we were perhaps having a refreshing summer eve drink, and kept talking about what are we going to talk about tonight, and then we'd have a few more drinks, and then what were we going to talk about tonight?
And then we started talking about something. We're like, oh, yep. wait, go back.
So, a couple of things. We're going to just I'm going to chalk this up to, we're going to call it the health of the organization, communication of the organization, and ultimately, what does that mean? And how do you know from a organizational health point of view if you're healthy or not? Okay.
And how do you know when you need to get ahead of something, right? Sometimes you just need to get ahead of something. There's not a problem, but you need to get ahead of it before there is a problem, right?
So to kind of give you a framework for the conversation, right now here at our home department, I don't want to say that we're in a big transitional phase, but what we're having is, and I know it sounds terrible.
Oh, that sounds terrible. There we go. Let's try that.
There we go. All better. We're having a lot of growth. Well, with growth comes new people that don't know the organization, don't know the culture, don't know the officers, don't know. Okay. And we're not talking about 1 or 5 or 12 new people. Our most recent fire academy, I just looked at it. I think we have, 15 confirmed? It'll be more in just representing our own organization. And here, starting on September 7th, we're going to have at least 45 people.
We have 23 probationary members.
There we go.
Currently, right now, today. So
that's just our people. And we have, are all of them in the academy?
No, that's what Gene and I were just chatting about and trying to figure out is who hasn't signed up, because he said we have 15 signed up, and I just counted the list and there's 23. So there's a handful of them, 8 to be exact, just out there in the abyss that haven't got the message, don't understand the message, don't know how to sign up, whatever. Right. So that is a weird thing for me to sit here and tell you I have 23 probationary members so we ended our last academy in
June.
May. I think it was May.
It was hot.
It was into May. We ended our last academy at the end of May. So all these people, these 23 people, have come to us since May, basically.
Okay.
And I was talking with a friend of mine from kind of that College Station area of Texas yesterday, and he was helping me with a little project that I'm working on for the state. And I said, "Man, I got to do this quick because I have 6 interviews to do tonight." And he said, "Do what?" I said, "Yeah, that's fairly normal for us to do 6 or 8 a month." And he was like, how? Uh, magic?
Yeah.
Automagically.
I don't know.
I don't
Anymore,
know.
I get kind of callous to that. We've been telling you how for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Uh, be brave. Try something.
Yeah. And so it's weird. It's weird to have these conversations with people because they don't get it. They don't understand it. But carrying on to, we've got 8 that we still need to get not falling through the cracks. And falling through the cracks becomes a problem. If there's 2 of them, it's pretty hard for them to fall through the cracks, right, Matt?
Yeah.
There's 23 of them. How easy is it for 8 of them to fall through the cracks?
I hate to say it, but it's guaranteed if we don't get our crap together.
Right.
That's the answer. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about is the theoretical dog who's always chased cars. They finally caught it. Now what?
Yeah.
That's the problem, is trying to be remotely, I know I'm going to use a dangerous word here. Everyone decock your pistol. Progressive.
Yeah.
Okay. The kicker with it is we are doing everything in our power to grow the organization. I would argue the growth that we've had, though robust and challenging, is still healthy. We have to stay on top of it, though. And the fragility, the tentativeness, the possible ability to really aggravate a lot of people suddenly is all of a sudden a very real thing, and it's not an intentional. It's going to be happening from complacency. You're about to say something. Give me one more second.
Yeah.
Just keep mumbling it to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And it is our jobs as department leaders to stay on top of these things, even if your officers are already overwhelmed with the amount of new people they have. Go ahead.
And I was going to say, sometimes I don't think I think we catch them off guard when you're successful in endeavors like this, because no one truly expected there to be success.
No.
Right? They expected that it was going to be like every other thing that anyone ever tried to do, and there was an attempt made, and oh well, it didn't work, and move on. Well, we flipped the old magic 8 ball over and got the answer and tried something, and lo and behold, it was incredibly successful and cheap, by the way. I'm going to throw that in there. Very cheap.
Yeah, and doable.
And doable. And no one in the organization or in just the volunteer fire community in general expected there to be success with what we were doing.
No, everyone wanted you to fail.
Yeah. Well, they expected it, right? It's not that they wanted you to fail. They just expected you to fail.
Fine. 5% wanted you to fail.
Okay. There was maybe a few, but the majority just expected it to fail because they couldn't wrap their head around that you actually had a plan that you put together that has a pretty decent chance of working. And look at there, his phone's going crazy. That was Party Boy from Jackass, if anyone was wondering what that was, but that's what that was. But It's been a constant in my life and as a ringtone since it was available to buy.
The other thing that I'm going to call it juggling, and these things are tied together. You have an ultimate vision of growth. You put together plans for growth. Okay. Growth happens. Trying to be proactive and assume and prepare for the said growth. Having other plans and events, I'm going to say strategically in place, that is prepared for the growth.
Right.
So here's the example. Me and Jesse sat down, and I would argue the previous assistant chief, Tim, same thing. He wanted to grow. Maybe not nearly as aggressive or nearly as committed to the growth, but he wanted it and he worked towards it. Okay. 2 years later, Jesse's in, and I have finally found someone else that is truly committed to growth. And it was a 2-step process. Way more than 2. But the first one was you still have to grow the department, but the second half of this is to try and prepare the department for the growth and have things and policies and officer levels and considerations in place to prepare for the growth. So one thing that we had done to prepare for the growth is that I've wanted a battalion chief of a couple of different types and levels and responsibilities in place for a while.
And we went back and forth on this because my vision of it was a little different than yours, and
right.
And there's been,
and we've had
2 years of discussion on this,
and
between me, you, and Tim.
Right. And prior to that, I mean, years before that, I mean, the department's always kind of scratched under other chiefs and other captains, just the tentative battalion chief. And the concept behind this is that at the end of the day, I truly don't know how big we are in Texas. I think we're in the top 5 for VFDs.
I would put us there, yeah.
I think we're there. In fact, I'm not sure if we're not actually in the top 4.
Yeah.
There's 3. Hats off to them. Almighty respect. That are definitively in front of us. We might be number 4. And they're big organizations. Big organizations. And if you look outside of Texas to some of the other states out there that have some big VFDs, and there are big VFDs out there, East Coast, Deep South, Texas, they have multiple stations, multiple chiefs, and multiple captains, lieutenants, and on and on. They have a very immersive program just that represents the size of the organization. And as we grew, what we did in anticipation and knowing that the battalion chief battle might be a battle, going in and putting in extra captains. Now, here's the kicker with that. There's a lot of trust and faith that has to happen on both fronts on that. Particularly on the captains having to work with other captains, because that you can really set up a fireworks stand on fire.
Yeah, there can be some power struggles there.
Yeah.
And ultimately, the guys that are stuck in these spots have done exceptionally well with each other.
It's without sounding like a damn schmuck or patronizing, we wouldn't be where we're at today without our captains, all 7 of them.
Yeah.
And Jesus, they've done such a good job, and it's really incredible that they've been able to work with us and each other and the growing of the department and not have a classic either Mexican standoff or Western style duel. Um, because all of these people, including the chiefs, they're all dominant personalities. We all have pretty significant opinions, and we've been able to march relatively to the same beat of the drum and progress forward. Um, and the kicker is that we have tried, me and Jesse, to prepare the department as much as possible for the growth that we were expecting and then ultimately found. And where we're at today is we really do need a battalion chief. We brought it up to the membership over the course of the last couple of months, but we've been kind of trickle feeding information to them, and I'll give the membership credit. They've been a little resistive to it. And as weird as this sounds, I actually am glad that they're asking questions about it.
Absolutely.
And they're a little resistive to it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's very healthy, and it keeps when it forces us to explain it better, right?
Right. I've always said that if I never got my way, it's not because the other person's an idiot. It's because I didn't explain it well enough. And we had a very productive business meeting last night from an organization's point of view about this topic. About this topic. And let me tell you, we had some people that did not like this idea. And the kicker with it is that it's important, particularly as a chief, because I do want this. I would argue I need this. Okay, is to not go flying off the handle and absolutely lose it because someone doesn't agree with me. It takes time. Questions are good. It forces us to actually get our ducks in a row, make the argument make sense, make the appropriate justification, and for lack of better words, treat it as the challenge that it's supposed to be, and ultimately take your biggest detractors and try and get them not necessarily to agree. That's the kicker. I don't need them to agree. What I need them to do and I need to achieve is that they understand. They don't have to agree, but they need to be able to understand what the actual goal and target is of this.
And I heard several times last night, and several people, including yourself, said that you thought we might be a little top heavy. But I do some math just in my head as I'm hearing this. So, you go to any department that's 3 stations, soon to be 4, right? So just take the 3 stations off the cuff. So every station's going to have a captain and probably a lieutenant, right?
Captain for sure.
Captain for sure.
Captain for sure.
So that's 3 times 3. If you go into a paid department, that's 3 times 3 shifts. That's 9, right, just in captains right there.
Assuming you don't have lieutenants.
Assuming there's no lieutenants there, there's just 9 there. You add a chief, assistant chief, that's 10, 11.
And you're probably going to have a battalion chief.
And there's going to be probably 3 battalions right there off the cuff. So that's 14. We're at 14 right now.
Right. Yeah.
I can do the math because I understand the structure. I understand the fire service structure of leadership and all that, because I've been immersed in it for 25 years, right? I understand how that works. If you go into even a little bit bigger department, there's going to be an EMS chief, there's going to be a training chief, there's, at that 3 or 4 station level, you're getting to there's a lot. I mean, you take a city, in San Angelo's 140,000 people, right? I think there are 9 stations. It's pretty good sized department. So there's 9 lieutenants and 9 captains on every shift in that department, and then there's an extra EMS lieutenant floating around on every shift.
Guarantee you there's a training captain.
Yep, there's a training chief.
Guarantee you there's a training chief. Guarantee you there's at least a captain over hazmat.
Yep.
Okay. I have no clue what they do for fire protection at the airport.
There's captains and lieutenants out there. There's a battalion that catches the airport and a couple other stations out that way. There's, I think, 3 battalions a shift plus an assistant, plus 2 assistant chiefs, I do believe.
Yeah, I could see. Here's the other detracting point. Please, for all of our military vets, we truly appreciate you and your perspective, but we're not a tanker division.
Yeah.
Like, fire service does not operate career or paid
or volunteer
like a military unit.
Yeah, it's a little bit different because there's, I guess, in a way, the titles are pushed up, right? So there's a lot more titles and a lot more officer titles in a military hierarchy, and there's a lot fewer in a fire hierarchy. And so what might be done by a staff sergeant or something like that becomes a lieutenant's role. And so the titles are pushed up a couple of levels beyond what they are in the military, because at the end of the day, it's still that span of control, that 5 to 7, right? And you've got to try to maintain that. We're pretty far outside of that right now.
Yeah.
By a lot. By probably 3 times that.
Yeah, a dozen. Yeah, and it is. So what we have is that we're caught in between a boom in membership, guaranteed stations coming down the pike. They're coming. I don't know when they'll be here, but they're coming. And I do mean stations, not stations.
Yeah.
And trying to get the membership, because at the end of the day, it is volunteer.
Right.
And their opinion matters, and their opinion is based on how much that they know and how much they're up to date on. And getting them to realize that we're 100-person organization. We are volunteer, and God forbid that 2 chiefs don't have to split 1,800 calls for coverage.
Yeah.
It would be really nice just to have some more white hats on a scene.
And there's multiple. I mean, I think about kind of just, you get into a larger scene, and granted, those large scenes that are truly massive, they're centennial events, to quote one of our members. Those once every 100-year events, but where you need divisions and you need stuff, you need people at that level of training, and not just training, but that level of power, ability to make those decisions, to be divisions, to be sectors, to be stuff like that. And it's not just you can't take the lieutenant or the senior fireman and expect them to be a division chief on a 500 room hotel on fire.
Right.
You can't do that. That's so far out of their wheelhouse. They don't have the ability. They don't have the. It doesn't matter how great a leader they are, and I say that with a grain of salt. If they're truly a good leader, they're gonna garner the and I hate to use the word respect because it's not respect. They're gonna garner the following of the folks.
Yeah, well, it's command authority.
Right. That's what it is.
It's command authority.
And it's just kind of a piece of the puzzle. And I'm with Matt 100%. I think we are trying to get ahead of this problem because is it a problem now? Yeah, but it's a wee little problem, right? It's not the end of the world. It's not going to break us tomorrow. It's not that. But 6 months down the road, could this break us?
No, but what it could be is the first really solid crack.
It could be painful.
And it sure as hell is a really big pain in the ass to rebuild a foundation when the house is built.
Yeah, it's hard to say, hey, 6 months ago or a year ago, we should have done this and we didn't do it. And because we were being ginger careful or whatever.
And part of that discussion last night is the thoughts came across my mind, but I sure as hell would never say it. But the thought was, you have no clue what's going on at the top. I'm telling you what we need. I've been right for the last 5 years. It would behoove you to listen to me, even if you don't have a clue. Now, you want to talk about how to start a war and how to really piss people off? Go ahead.
Say that.
Quote someone. Yeah, try that little stunt and see how far that carries you. Or you can be an adult and realize, like, oh, okay, they have a legitimate concern, even if I diabolically disagree with it, and I need to do a little work on that one.
Yeah.
And just realize that there's a time in a very rare place where you get to say, I know what I'm talking about. You don't. Go do. Those are exceedingly rare and exceptional times and circumstances. And I assure you, having
or you're a prick.
Yeah. Yeah. Or that. And you wouldn't be having this problem.
Yeah.
And just realize that here's your sign. Hey, you need to do a little extra chiefing right now. Kinda needs to happen.
And so I'd call this interdepartment politics, right?
Right.
So we harp on the politics that you have to get involved in and the things that you have to do that's political. Even the non-political guy has to deal with this.
Mm.
Even the guy that refuses to go sit at the county commissioners or the city council or whatever, and I'd say parish council or whatever, parishioners for our friends in Louisiana now because they have parishes in Napoleon law, but but this is the interdepartment politics of the whole thing, and you have to do your due diligence 100%. You can't just be. It's not a dictatorship, even if you're benevolent like Chief Ron.
Yeah. Freely elected.
Yeah.
Lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. It's one of those things where you need to be, we can call it politics. We can call it the professional way to get your way. There's 50 different analogies and scenarios and on that I can throw at you. But the fact of the matter is this, is it boils down to, it's the human element of your organization. You can't forget the communication part of it. And more importantly, I would add, this isn't one of those conversations that you have through Messenger.
No, this is face to face and in person.
Face to face, and like in our case, we're 100 people. So ideally, you'd prefer to not catch 100 people alone. So,
but you stand up in front of the group and you answer their hard questions. And you give the best answer you can, and I think you and I both tried to do that to the best of our ability last night, and tried to shed some perspective on things.
And also to the point last night, I thought it was real important to allow
dissension
and the discussion.
Yeah.
And there was a point that I wanted to make at the very end of that. There's nothing wrong with disagreeing. Like, you got to remember that it's important. It's a healthy sign of the organization when people can disagree and it not be a war.
Right.
Okay. There's nothing wrong with not agreeing with something in a business meeting and sitting there and having just a matter of the fact. And there was no standing up and chest bumping and, you MFer. No, you're an MFer. No, you're an MF. No, wasn't that. It's just a straight up honest discussion and difference of opinion and stating of the facts as seen. And there ain't nothing wrong with that.
No, I tell you, the last department I was with, and I was the assistant chief division volunteer and president, and I'd been the president since about the time presidents became a thing in that department, and it was tough to have a meeting and just say, well, we're going to get 47 3-foot long purple throbbers and we're going to mount them to everything. And they go, oh yeah, that's a great idea. We should get pink ones too. And it's like, no, you idiots. Like, argue with me about this. Like, let's have some discourse about what we're doing here, because it's pointless for you to just be sheep. And it really bothered me a lot when that would happen. And I would bring something up as, hey, I want to do this. I want to buy a new computer. I want to do whatever, right? And then I would literally be the counter argument for the thing I wanted, just so that there was somebody speaking against it.
Yeah. Having the discussion that should be happening.
Yeah. I would let them all be for it, and I would be the one against it, but I brought it up saying I wanted it. And it sounded bipolar at that point, but it was just so that there was a discussion. If somebody latched on to one of those negative things, we could have went down that rabbit hole. We'd have ultimately came back to whatever it was, but we should have went down that rabbit hole.
Yeah. It's I don't know, it's woo. I'm going to bird dog for a second, but it's right along the lines of what we're discussing. We know what we know, and we know what we have to reference.
And we don't know what we don't know.
And we don't know what we don't know. And the one proverbial trap that me and Jesse are trying to avoid at all cost is where we eventually point at the failure of the volunteer system. And this won't work because you're volunteer. And the two of us are arguing emphatically, you're wrong. It's working because it's volunteer. And here's why. So we have to be really, really, really careful sitting there and following modeling that's readily, perfectly available to us nationwide. And a classic example of what I'm talking about. We have enough people to get, and we're about to have a station and the setup. We've never had shifts because we don't have dorms, but we're about to have a station with dorms, and we could probably get really, really creative and probably be able to start creating a shift pretty quick and be able to probably fill it pretty easily with a full crew. minimum of 4, pretty easily. Here's the problem. You show me a combination department where they started that and they brought 4 people on shift and the volunteers thrived, and I'll personally send you $100.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you, that is the path to 10,000 tiers right there. And we both agree that volunteers the answer. So there's a lot of stuff that we're willing to look at that at a local, regional, state level, and arguably nationally, where we're going to be arguing against doing that because it's going to hurt the volunteer fire department in the long run. And part of this is how far we're looking out, because we're not looking at today's problems. We're not even looking at next year's problems. We're looking at problems right now that are facing chiefs that aren't us. And we're trying to put, to the best of our ability, a system in place that is supported through our articles and bylaws and through our SOPs and SOGs that actually allows those things to fall into place naturally at the 3, 5, 7, 10, 15, 30-year block. And that's what makes me and Jesse's job hard right now. I'm going to be very stupid and very, very overconfident. I think we have today's problems under control.
Yeah, I'd step on that.
What we're looking at is 2027's problem.
And 2030's problem.
And 2030's problem. And God forbid 2050's problem. And have it already conquered. What does that look like? I can't tell you. What I can tell you is training. That's important. What I can tell you is having officers that are worthy and capable. That's worth pursuing also.
And it's weird because truly, I wouldn't say 100%, but we are put in place through a popularity contest, you and I.
Right.
Totally what it is, right? We just hope they have enough judgment to realize that put smart people in smart positions, right? They may not, but we hope they do. But beyond the levels below us, it's not a popularity contest. It is who is the right person for the job, period. And no matter if we're blithering idiots and the next people are blithering idiots, if they follow in the footsteps of putting the right person in the right place, it will continue to work regardless of whether or not the chief can pour piss out of a boot or not.
The only thing I'll add to that, because you're 100% right, but the only caveat that I'll add to that is that the chief or the proverbial president or director needs to be aware enough to not step on those people below you on their throat.
Yeah.
Let them go forth and let them cartwheel and let them take care of business.
And the reality is, because I know all you chiefs out there are going, good God, I can't do that. Let them fail on their own.
I would argue it's the single most important thing you can do. And here's the only other most important thing you can do. Don't crush them when they screw up.
Yeah. Let them fail on their own.
Yep. Let them learn.
If they're not towing the line, the rest of the department will get them eventually. Like if the department is healthy and organized and proficient, those that are not towing the line, the department will take care of that on its own.
Yeah, every single time.
Every single time.
Every single time. You don't have to worry about it. And I would argue you shouldn't do anything about it because it allows the membership to do what their actual job is, to be responsible for the membership. Your job is to guide and lead the membership. Your job's not to sit there and cull the herd.
Yep.
That's not your job. Your job is to lead the herd and shepherd the herd and protect the herd. The membership will take care of itself.
The herd will take care of itself, yeah. No doubt. And I've seen it even in a lot smaller circumstances than this. And I say all that, and it's not just general philosophy, right? It's not pointed anywhere or anything like that.
Well, to a certain extent, we even saw it last night. We had 2 applicants that we turned down, perfectly capable, good applicants. The problem for them is that they pass several departments that we know emphatically 100% that they need help. One of them desperately.
And they didn't try. Right.
And
it's one thing if they've tried and chosen no, or have made an effort to make a contact and said, that's really not a fit for me. Like we get all that, right? But to just blaze past dozens and just go, yeah, no, I wanted to come here. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and it happened last night. There was 2 people, and they had every right in the world to be here, and credit to our organization's reputation for wanting to be here. But where they live, they are passing at a bare minimum 5 other VFDs to be here, 4 of which are desperate for personnel, 2 of which I would argue are critical for personnel, and one of which I'm pretty positive that chief would stab me in the face if he had found out that we had taken people that were driving past his station. That there's a point here where we can't talk about being good stewards of volunteership and ambassadors of volunteership and gobbling up every single resource within 100 miles.
And frankly, we're at a point where we don't have to gobble up every single.
No, yeah, that's there might
there
be
is that too, right? We've got a good batch. We need to take the good batch we got. That doesn't mean we're closing applications by any means. That's not happening.
GVFD.org.
Right. We're not closing the door. We're just saying, hey, we've got this batch of folks. We need to take care of this batch of folks. We'll keep taking some folks if they truly are a fit or we think they're a fit. And then when we get this batch of folks done, open the floodgates again and let's go again. I think that's an important. I see a lot of departments, and I'm going to bounce off into another deal because I rack my brain on this and I can't figure it out, who do like a once a year drive and then they close applications, and it's like a month-long application period for the entire year for a volunteer department. And then they're sitting there crying that they can't find people. Well, you closed your process.
Yeah, I mean,
and I can't wrap my head around you closed your process.
For lack of better words, you've taken your VFD, you've turned it into a prison, and you're shooting everyone trying to come in. What? I mean, it makes no sense. I for the life of me, I can't remember where we heard, and I don't think it was you. It could have been someone else, but it may have been you, Jesse, where they talked about You show up in a brand new town, brand new cafe, the open signs on, you walk in the door, and there's not even a cook in the kitchen. And it's like, what the hell do I actually do with this? So you sit there, you look around a little bit, maybe even sit down, look around, and then you get up and leave.
I think that's a Stephen King book.
Could be. And I mean, the stupid thing is that how many departments I talk to that are that way. It makes no sense. Why on earth would you turn away people that are like, "Hey, I want to go do stuff for you for free," and they're like, "Nope, nope, nope, nope."
You're funny looking.
Yeah, you 8 months.
Your socks don't match.
Yeah, 8 months. You can come to us. What? I don't know. It just, I'll disagree pretty hard on that.
Yeah.
I could understand if you had, like, let's say 100-person roster
And you needed 50.
and you had 40 on deck. Okay, fine. I don't know of anyone in the US that's in that position, no.
Yeah.
So don't
25 years ago, maybe.
Don't sit there and tell me in one day how desperately you need people and how no one will volunteer, and then the next day be like, "Oh yeah, no, nope,
Process closed."
process closed." It's just like, okay, I'm sorry, I'm very stupid and I can't understand these things.
Yeah.
Um,
We have our own hangups, right?
oh sure,
Yeah. I mean, I told one this last week, like, Thursday is super important. You can't come on Thursday. I can't help you. Like, that's our hangup. That's one of our hangups. Like, Thursday's super important. But the reality is you're not going to survive and become part of our organization if you can't be at a fire station on Thursdays at 7 p.m.
period. I think the other part of that is that the old adage, beggars can't be choosers. We're not beggars. And as our roster finds robustness and stability as we fill up, and we can even do more to help the organizations in our vicinity and help them get their roster full. Because I'm telling you, in Hood County, there's eight other departments, 9 total. And is there occasionally a little pirating going on there?
Yeah,
A little bit of thievery? Maybe. I will neither confirm nor deny my membership that lives in Hood County and lives in other districts.
Or their membership that lives in our town.
Right. But I will say this. As we find stability in our roster, I have no problem referencing people to other departments around us.
And I keep telling people, like, I would rather just take them for 6 months, let me trade them, and then I'll give them back to you, or give them to you. Let me get them through the initial phase of everything on my dime, my effort.
Quite frankly, it'd be easier.
And just say, hey, Billy, Bo, Jim, Bob, we love you. They love you more. You should go over there.
Here's the problem, though. Here's the problem with that. I got a cough.
Did you turn your head? Yes, you did.
So, here's the problem with that. They join. It's the new kid in middle school. Okay. They finally get to pick, Jesus. That is a lot.
Share that in a minute.
Yeah. The new kid in middle school, you show up that first month. Yeah, I'll be honest with you. It's pretty rough. A lot of it is character and personality driven. So if you are a really solid type B personality, type A and B, you'll be all right. You'll fit in within 3 minutes to a week. You get a little further out on that type B, sliding into a type C. It's really going to take more of a month and a half to really make that transition,
if ever.
As that C into D, that D type personality, I'll admit, struggles with us, and I would argue would struggle in any VFD. Okay, but the problem is they get on the organization, and we have enough people now to have variety. Okay, and it's not clicks, because I'm telling you, I run around and crush clicks. I don't like clicks. I hate clicks, but there's nothing wrong with having your little group of friends. Okay. And that's the whole purpose of the VFD, is to find your family, find your friends. Get it? Okay. The issue is that now they found their friends. They're not leaving. Particularly if they found their family. Yeah. They're definitely not leaving. Well, sorry, I guess we'll keep that one.
Yeah. No, there's, and I'm sitting there looking at the group last night, and I'm thinking, I am certainly glad I'm not one of those 18-year-old girls that just joined our department, because it's got to be just the polar opposite of everything that they've ever, because their circle's always been other girls their age for the most part, right? And now they're in this group that's wide, diverse, men, women, old women. Like, it's every aspect of humanity is in this room. And now
you know what? Hold on. We're going to bird dog for a second, because I absolutely love when I see these DEI surveys that come out on the fire service, because I always take every single one of these surveys. I want to preface this by saying that my county in Texas, when you think that you're in a conservative county, all I can tell you is that my county tells your county to hold my beer. Okay. I'm conservative on a level that is historically very, 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 very conservative.
Well, let's just throw this out there. This was the epicenter of the gay marriage battle.
Right.
About 10 years ago.
Right.
This county.
The political battle.
This county's clerk was the epicenter of that.
Right. Okay. And when we get to have a DEI survey, oh my God, I immediately accept and I start filling it out, because you couldn't have, particularly in my county, a wider range of backgrounds, nationalities, perspectives, education levels, political orientations, physical orientations, sexual orientations. And here's the kicker. I'm going to blow your mind. They all work together. I just told you that. The more diverse the group is, the better that they work together.
And the caveat to that is they didn't become members because of their diversity.
No.
They became members because of their desire to be a part of the organization and to learn and to thrive and to be better people, and better humans, and serve their communities. And because of that, they were successful, not because of their diversity, but because of their desire, drive, and initiative.
And the advantage that we have and that we take advantage of is perspective, is differing opinion, is life experience, is personal experience, is education, and is life experience. it makes the organization stronger. Every single DEI survey on the face of the earth, I destroy. And the funniest thing on it about it on the face of the earth is that I have some members. I always make the joke that I was conservative until I moved to my county. I'm telling you, I am not conservative. I thought I was. I am not conservative. And we have multiple members that at face value, if you had an opinion and you judged a book by its cover, you would make a statement or thought. And I am telling you, when you were wrong about that person, they will crush you with their conservatism. And I mean crush you with it. And liberalism. It's both. And I would argue it's the strongest part of the department. Is at the end of the day, we have, and it's trigger words. It's all it is a word. But I don't know how else you would describe multi personalities, political thoughts, educations, life experiences, other than we have a wide diversity of people on our organization that all have one common cause, which is the support of the community and the service we provide. And it's a hellaciously powerful part of our organization because it's not closed-minded and single set.
Yeah. And we all don't look like me, thank God.
Yeah, yeah.
Only me and Gene. We're the only two that look alike. But I just got a text. I'd asked our secretary to just update me on what our actual roster numbers are, because we were talking about having 23 probationary members just earlier in the podcast. And so active reserve, probationary, and lifetime combined, we now sit at 97. And
how much of that is lifetime?
I
think they're 13 or 14, right?
I think so. It's sub 15, right? So sub 15. So we're at 97. This time last year we were in the probably 60-ish.
Yeah.
So guys, it's completely doable. There is people out there, they want to do this. They want to be part of your organization. You just got to be willing to give them a shot, basically. And they're not all going to work out. We 2 last night didn't work out. There's no harm in giving them a shot.
Yeah, just to give crappy numbers. Let's say you gained 5 and you lost 2.
You're still net 3.
You're net 3. And then you gained 2 and then you lost 1. Well, you're still net 5. And then you gained 4 and you lost 4. Or you're net 0. Okay. I mean, it is a long burn. Okay. I will tell you this. Me and Jesse say this a lot. We don't have the answer, and we don't. There's no way we can sit there and say do X, Y, and Z, and this is what the result's going to be. But I can tell you, are we on the right path? Uh-huh. Yeah. Well, no. We're on the right path. I can tell you the things that we did.
And it probably wouldn't hurt to emulate that.
Yeah. I will always argue, why think when you can plagiarize? Don't sit there and reinvent the wheel when all you have to do is walk across the creek, up a hill, and steal someone else's wheel. Do it. Don't be afraid to take a few minutes to look at the wheel. Maybe realize you want to make a few tweaks to it. Make it yours. Go ahead.
Tighten the spokes if you want. Yeah.
Go ahead and do that. But and it is, I mean, it's a brag, it's a humble brag, it's whatever. In a day and age when everyone tells you volunteerism is dying, if that's the case, why are we growing? Why are the departments near us growing? Why are other departments in Texas, not a lot, why are they growing? Volunteerism's not dead. What I would argue is the way that you're representing the organization needs to be reevaluated.
And I'm going to take this time, and we've hinted at this before, but drop us an email. I mean, we can arrange to come help you figure this out, right? It's going to take a little bit of expense account, right? We can't do this for free, but we can come to wherever and help you figure this out. We can do some Zoom stuff. We can in essence consult. And there's nothing wrong with that. And we can certainly help you guys do that. And for me, it just can't cost me a fortune to go do it, right?
Right.
It's not about making money off of it as much as it is just not costing me money at this point. Because frankly, even this podcast costs Matt and I a ton of money to do. So we're open to do that, willing to do that. We do that for several other departments around the nation right now. But it's just kind of this on the side thing that we do, and we're more than happy to do that.
Yeah, I mean, and the other thing, I was kind of had a side conversation this week with an assistant chief I met, and let me tell you, when I say passion, this man had passion for his organization, and he'd been part of it for a long time, and he was absolutely heartbroken at the state of which his organization was in. And that's a hard conversation to have because, one, in this case, I'm trying to sell him crap. But two, this is a man that really, really, really cares about his organization, and it's dying in front of him. And it's hard to tell him that make a change. Like, you were right for 30 years, but the last 15 you were wrong. Make a change. Go out there and try and find someone. And it's not copy them, but just see a ray of hope somewhere. And don't just chalk it up to real easy, fold your hands and be like, "Ah, well, you got money." Well, we always had money. 5 years ago, we were hammered dog crap.
But we had money.
But we had the money. You're forgetting you don't need money to make the organization thrive. As the organization thrives, that's how you can get more money. You can turn around and lay it on thick with your city and county and parish and district and region and
community.
I mean, I can show you absolutely broke communities and VFDs that run 200 calls a year that have $500,000 fundraisers. It's not money. Don't get me wrong, money makes life easy, but it's not the money. Look at the organization. It's okay. It needs to grow a little bit, change some things. I'm telling you, I don't care where you're at in the US. People want to volunteer. They just don't know that they can.
Or how to get there.
Or how to find you.
Yeah. With that, I think that's a good stopping point, Matt.
Yeah, we've been prattling on for a while.
For a minute or two.
All right. Guys, if you ever feel like reaching out to us at ittasteslikeburningcast@gmail.com, you can support us on Patreon at ittasteslikeburningcast. And if you're ever interested in staring at a non-moving picture, jump on YouTube. It's an easy way to share everything. Like, click, and subscribe. You'd be surprised how much we need that. And we appreciate your time, energy, and effort tonight.
And with that, good evening.
This is Matt.
This is Jesse.
Have a good one.
Yeah.